Hello everyone. Well, I've never done this before, but I'm going to try to put together this Locksmith 225 series 40mm padlock locksmith pack with standard wafers and one key. I don't know what the TP stands for, but what I noticed is you get 6 springs, 5 of these wafers, and one last piece. This last piece has a little scratch on it, but that was that way when it came, and all of these guys are numbered. This one says number 1. I don't know if the camera's, I got it overhead, I don't know what it's doing right now. Anyway, and then you have your cylinder, which has 2 sides to it. This side looks like it's going to accept the springs. So first thing I want to do is get my bubble wrap lap ready. This just helps whenever the springs go flying. If they land in your lap, you got a chance of the bubble wrap catching it. So what I'm going to first do, it looks like I'm going to have to cut a key, but I'm going to take the little springs and put them in their little holes here. Plop. That's one. Another one. Uh-oh. Now see, I squeezed that guy. Luckily, he only went right there. Springs. Yeah, they get their name from, they love to just spring away from you. Now, with those numbers, I think those are the cuts or of the bitting there for each one of those. So the only one that looks different is this guy right here, and that's probably where this one goes. So, oops, I'm just gonna pick him up by hand. See if he sets in there. Yes, he does. Alright, so now we just basically figure out what bitting we want to have on here. And let me stand up so I can zoom in on these guys and show you. Alright. So yeah, you see the 1, 2, 3, 4 and all that different stuff. These little tabs, I believe. The long tab, I think, is going to be for the spring, and the little tabs are what you manipulate when your key gets in there. So zoom back out so I can see all this. Alright. So I'm just going to put them in any old random order here. Whatever I pick up, I'm going to put in there and just go for it. Because wafer locks are, you see, I just lost 2 springs doing that, just rolling this guy over. You go in there, you go in there. Oh, come back. Go in there. No! Yeah, you're gonna have to take some patience pills if you go to do these things. Alright, so this guy's a number 1 cut, so we'll put him in the first one. Sitting down like that. Uh-oh. Is that the way they go? It should be. It just doesn't feel right that these guys should be able to recess all the way in there. Houston, we have a problem. He didn't want to come out now. Come on. Uh-oh. Wow, I guess they just kind of like lock in when they get in there. But the, this isn't correct here. There's something wrong. Let me pause this while I'm dropping springs and everything. Get this figured out. Alright, I figured out what I was doing wrong. These wafers have got to go, they've got to push all the way down. So when I was doing it like this little nub is sticking up on the top, it wouldn't clear that. You have to go the other way, like this. Now this is a number 3 cut. We'll have him in the back here, like that. I don't know if this is even going to work. It seems like it might work. But then we have no gates to pick. I'm confused. See, if you put it this way, that thing runs into that, and it's going to stick up too high. If you put it in this way, it'll recess down, but your little nub over here is, there's nothing to pick. I don't know if these things are incorrect, were made wrong, or I just don't know what I'm doing, which is more likely. Let me pause this again. Okay, what I had to do was go watch, Lockwood has done an assembly video of this one, and it really helped, because when you're looking at this and you put your first wafer in, if you've never done this before, there are no instructions for this because it's for a locksmith, so they figure you know what you're doing. But what I was doing, I was putting these wafers in, and I noticed that it wasn't going to clear this, but you have to take a pair of pliers to seat these guys, and that's what was stopping me, because usually you don't want to force something. But that little nub on the side right there helps hold them in, so they won't like disassemble themselves like a lot of wafer locks will if you start taking them out. So now we know what we needed to know. I'm going in no particular order on these. I'm just putting them in whichever way they'll go in, and then I'll cut my key for it later. This guy don't want to go in. You don't want to get past his little nubbin. You shall go in, whether you want to or not. There we go. Just got to be fun with these wafer locks. Tell them who's boss. Stick this guy in. Squeeze him. And we got one more. Last one. Yeah, I'll put a link to Lockman's video, because he goes over a lot more than I do on this. And naturally he's more thorough. Alright, so now we have our wafer lock. If the key was cut properly, when I stuck this in, none of those guys would be sticking up. So now all I've got to do is cut the key to match the bitting. And the way I'm going to do that, I probably should have marked this key first. But you just make sure it's seated all the way in, and then I'm going to use my little nippers and possibly a file. And I've got 2 keys, so I've got 2 chances to get it right. But that's what I'm going to do next. So let me pause this. Now what I'm doing here to kind of help me with this is I'm taking this other Lockwood 225 and I'm using it to figure out the spacing or the cuts. How far from this shoulder to the first cut. Now what I've done as best I can is line this up, clamp the blank to the one that's cut, and then I'm going to take a file and mark my cuts there. So right away I figured a file is not the best way to do it, because the way I've got it laying here, if you try to scrape across there, you might change the cut of the one that you're using as a copy. So I'm just using a Sharpie to do my spacing there. Alright, so what I've done is I've gotten close. Number 3 is a 0 left. You put him in and he's already good. You can see that number 5 needs a little bit more filing. Number 3 is, like I said, is good. Number 4 feels alright, might need a little filing. And 1 and 2 need some work. So once I do the little nibbing, I'm going to use a regular file. I don't know where I've got him lying around. It's just on either end, it's got the file pieces. So I'll work on that and we'll see what we get. Alright, I'm getting closer. You want to just keep sticking them in and pulling them out. The key hasn't been angled for the cuts completely, so it'll kind of like jam in there sometimes. All I do is take this guy and put a little bit of rubber on him and do a little yanking. I don't know where my rubber went. There's some right here. I just don't want to mar up the Lockwood key. That's not tight enough. There we go. Yeah, just take your time. And all I do is I sit down here and I take my little file, and if it needs a little bit more, I just kind of wallow that thing out, trying to keep it parallel and even, so that you don't have an angled cut. And then I stick it in and see what it's doing. I'm checking for the feel right here. If I feel anything bumping up, then it's not going to turn in the cylinder. And you also check this side to see if you've gone too far. This guy just needs a little bit of filing, and these other 2 need a little bit more. And then we're stuck again. Yeah, after I get the depth straightened up, I'm gonna work on the key so that it comes in and out of the lock a little bit easier. It's the the slope. Uh-oh. We may have a problem here. What I'm talking about is that sharpness right there. If you angle that a little bit, the spike and that spike, the key will go in and out easier and won't get stuck like it is. So this is what I'm doing to reduce the key stickage. This guy here has no filings on these sides, but only on this side. So when I do a cut like this guy, I push it in here and I just put the angle like that. And then I go over here to this side and I slope it a little bit. Same with this one. Excuse me, I'm bouncing all over, trying to look through the camera and do this. And then a little bit on this side. And then we check it. I'm pretty close. Maybe just a little bit more on 5. And this is just the core retainer here. You don't file on that one. I might have it. You want to get it as close to perfect as you can when you put it in, so you won't have to keep messing with it. But see how that key comes out easier now? And that's just because, like I said, the wafers are stuck right here, and they've got to have a ramp, you know, when they're coming in or out to go against. If it's a straight wall like that, you're almost making a door buster thing. It's going to lock the key in there, and you're going to have a hard time getting that sucker out. You might not be able to get it out. So anyways, I'm going to just do a little fine tuning on this key to make it go in easier, in and out easier. It's not going to be the best looking key in the world, but you know, I don't really care what the cuts look like as long as they work. And I think that's going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and insert it and see how that does. Alright, you've got to hold your your thumb over this guy, and this plate also acts as the shackle retainer. So when you open this, the key works. It shoots it out. That's going to happen until and that's a strong spring in this sucker, let me tell you. That's going to work. So, we've got it good. Let me just put the plate back on it and get this thing all together, and we'll be done. So one other thing, I haven't got this plate completely on. You don't want to mar it. You don't want to mess it up. So, put something over it to tap it in. Ow! Don't hit your finger. I mean, you could use a rubber... Ow! I should have used a rubber mallet. Oh, I don't want to bang on this. I'm going to break my pinning tray. I need a bigger hammer. I need a bigger hammer. Ow! Ooh. I gotta watch that. Keep banging me head. Get over there and get focused, you. Boy, bigger hammer time. I don't know how far up this thing sticks, or supposed to stick. If it goes flush or not. Let's see if this works. Yeah, but I need to beat on it some more. But we do have success. I just need to beat on that cover a little bit more because it is sticking up a little bit, as you can see. And where is my other Lockwood? Oh, I put him up. Yeah, see, it goes all the way down. All the way down. So I've got a little bit more whacking to do. But I think we've got it. So there we go. I got it smacked down a little bit more. That right there, that little smudge came because I was patting the back of the lock and the front of the lock, and the piece that I was using to do the front of the lock had some holes in it. I might be able to polish that out. But anyway, there we go. Here's a little key. Goes in a little lock like that and works. So that was very fun. The hardest part was figuring out how to get those pins in there. No one really, describes it other than Lockwood. I mean, Locknoob. And I'll put a link to his assembly video in there in this description. So thanks for watching, and happy picking, everyone. Also, thank you so much, Paul, for this Lockwood. I love Lockwoods.